Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to make Ravey Breakbeat in the style of Breaka, inspired by his tracks The Ambush, The Startup and Icy Grills. The project file samples and presets are available for a small contribution in the description, and please do drop a like if you learned something from this video. Under 40% of my viewers during the last month are subscribed, so if you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing and turning on the bell notifications if you never want to miss a video. I've got a couple of breakbeat packs available in the description, so feel free to check those out, and please leave any suggestions for future videos in the comments. Our BPM is 130 and we start in the key of C# minor, although there are arguably a couple of modulations during the loop. The techniques I've used to create the drums are covered in more detail in my break slicing video, which will appear in a card on the screen now. First, we have the kick, which is a heavily processed breakbeat kick. Next, we have the drums. And within that group, we have the breaks. There's a think snare, think break, and soul pride break. I've combined the think and soul pride breaks as Breaka does in The Ambush. The breaks were saturated after being sliced to MIDI, a technique which can be seen in depth in my break slicing video, but I was using a third-party saturation VST and couldn't replicate the crunchiness with Ableton stock plugins, so I just froze and flattened the audio. You may have noticed that the snare is pitched down by a semitone versus the break. This was an accident, but it gives the think break more variety. Then we have the clap, which hits on every fourth beat. Next, we have the high percussion. For the hat, we have two identical samples in cells in a drum rack. But for this second cell, the decay has been tightened and the volume has been taken down a little. Plus, there's panning and the samples are in a choke group. The MIDI is this 16th note pattern. The first tambourine has a very similar setup to the hat with tweaked ADSR, panning and choking, and an identical MIDI pattern. Finally, we have another tambourine, which is pitched down from the think break, and this has been panned to the right. On the high perk group, there's saturation and EQ. This MPC groove is applied to the MIDI and audio in the drums group for added swing. Also forgot to mention, on the breaks group, we have a small high shelf EQ. On the drums group, we have drum bus to glue everything together. EQ and reverb is applied via send A. And for this project, I've chosen this empty club preset. So this is without drum bus. Next, we have the basses. First, there's this sub drop made in Serum. We have a sine wave taken down by 2 octaves with its unison at 16 to create some wobbly movement. We've got an amp envelope which tapers off towards the end of each note. LFO1 is modulating the master tuning, which we can see in the matrix, with this low pass filters cutoff being modulated by LFO2, creating further movement. There's some drive on the filter 2, and we have distortion in the effects. On the channel, we have a mono utility as Serum pans the unison voices, and the sub is being boosted by this EQ3. Next, we have the wobble. We have, again, a sine wave taken down by 2 octaves, and a filter with its cutoff modulated by LFO1. And we also have some drive here as well. There's nothing in the effects. And then we have the 808. On the group, we have EQ, heavy application of drum bus with damping, and this helps with a more classic dirty feel. And sidechain compression using the kick as a trigger, plus, like the drums, reverb is applied via send. Then we have the effects. So we have the dub laser, impact, then there's the reverse and vocal stutter. The only inserts applied on any of these are the EQ and echo on the stutter. On the group, we have drum bus, EQ, and chorus, with reverb applied via send. Breaka generally uses some variety of background ambience, often with long effects tails, and this is worth considering if you're making this style. Finally, we have the pads. And individually, Pad 1 has this low pass filter applied with the LFO sweeping the frequencies around, and this is rising every 2 bars. So pad 1 is kind of the warmth and body. Pad 2 has a bandpass doing something similar in terms of sweeping frequencies around, but this adds high-end clarity. Let's see what happens if I alternate muting them in the mix. Using 2 different pad samples playing the same chord and with different auto filters helps create lots of movement. Breaka does something similar in the ambush. If we look at the MIDI, you'll notice this 2 semitone drop, and this also happens with the bass lines representing a key change or modulation. So you can see it here with the sub drop, with the 808 as well. Also with the wobble too. The chord does later on drop to A, although the bass lines don't drop further to accommodate this new chord. Breaka uses a similar modulation in the ambush, and shifting around sampled chords is a common technique in rave music. On the group, we have drum bus to glue the pads together, EQ, another auto filter with LFO for even more movement, but this time it's with a slower rate of 8 bar, echo, and reverb applied again via send A. And that's the video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.